Hello, everybody. Astrologer Natha Perkins here with Astrology, and we are going to talk about the gifts of Scorpio this week. If you are new here, I'm an intuitive evolutionary astrologer, and I use a combination of spirituality, psychology, and astrology to help you understand yourself better. We have all of the zodiac signs, all of those energies, all of the planets, asteroids, etc. We each have those in our chart. And if you are wanting to understand what you're doing here, what has happened in your past, where you're going in your future, one way to do that is to use astrology as an organizing tool. It tells you about yourself. It gives you easy to use explanations about all of the many facets of you. I have begun in season 5 at Sagittarius. You can check that out. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll have to switch to the podcast, Star Narratives, to watch the first part of those. I am currently loading those episodes onto YouTube, but for now, they're only on the podcast. If you are listening on a podcast, you can go back. I started at Sagittarius season and we're almost done because I am in Scorpio season now. I go through all of the facets of the sun signs and I present them in a way that makes you think, that makes you understand yourself better. And you guys have given me amazing feedback that you love listening to these episodes because they make you think and they give you aha moments, they give you inspiration. And I think that's important. That's what we need more of right now. Inspiration and definitely insight into who we are and what we are meant to be doing. If you like my style, you can work with me at electraastrology.com. I offer private readings, mentorships, apprenticeships. And if you are a practitioner yourself and you don't have the time or energy to learn astrology, I offer mentorships for you so that you can use astrology to help understand your clients a little better. You can find all of that on electraastrology.com. Today, we are talking about the Scorpio gifts. I'm going to follow this with a weekly forecast, talking about the astrology energy of the week. And I'm going to give you some tips and tricks for making it through this upcoming week, which is a big one in the US due to our elections. We talked last week in our Scorpio Shadow episode about fear and how we try to control our fear by doing all of these different things, by doing all of these things to solve our fear problem. And how ultimately it wasn't about trying to solve the fear problem. It's about understanding the deeper layers of your fears, how they came, what they are doing here, why they are still hanging around. And ultimately, it comes down to taking your own power back. Because when we are in a state of fear, we are handing our power out to authority, to the things that we obsess about, to the worst case scenarios. And although we won't ever really be able to stop that, because that's the nature of the human mind, we need to be on alert so that we can avoid danger. But we have to be discerning about using that alertness in ways that are actually beneficial so that our nervous system isn't always so tight and we aren't always in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn mode. So today, Scorpio gifts. And Scorpio has so many gifts. Scorpio is one of the deeper signs. And so we have to mine for the gifts. They aren't just given. They are the gifts that we receive after we have done the hard work. Doing the hard work in Scorpio is really necessary. And I can't say how many times I come across people who don't do the hard work of Scorpio. They don't have the attention span, the support, or the psychological wherewithal to be able to dive into their shadows. Like I said before, Scorpio shadows are really painful to look at because they usually involve us having to look at the things that we don't want to deal with, things that could have happened to us in our past that were painful, humiliating, embarrassing, traumatizing, etc. And so rather than looking at those situations, trying to understand them and trying to figure out how can I reclaim my power from this thing that happened to me, we might choose to numb it, grab our vices, blame people, divert our attention somehow into distractions. So take a deep breath. Understand that once again, we are dealing with subject matter that can be heavy to look at, but I want you to feel into your nervous system and just feel what is here. Connect with your body for a minute. Scorpio rules the reproductive organs, the bladder, and our elimination systems. So think about that. Scorpio rules the places within us that bring life and also the places within us that must eliminate, be done with what no longer serves us. So that is the nature of Scorpio right there in a nutshell, isn't it? It is the process of death and rebirth. Because in order for us to rebirth, to reclaim our power, and to dive into the awareness that's available to us with Scorpio, and that's the whole point, is the awareness that comes. It's that phoenix that rises from the ashes. We go through what can feel like pain and suffering, but then we eventually come out of it and we are wise and we are no longer afraid as we do the work of facing the fear of being with ourselves. And I want to clarify that this isn't something that has an end goal. It's not that we say, I'm going to face this fear, I'm going to heal it, eliminate it, and be done with it. Because this is a water sign, and water signs are just multi-layered, multifaceted, and we can continue to go deeper and deeper and deeper. There is always much to understand. For example, if you were to spend time in a river, you would notice that there are places that are shallow, places that are deep, places that are safe and peaceful, places that are dark and chaotic. Sometimes the river is going to be sunlit and warm. Sometimes it's going to be cloudy and freezing. And it's the nature of water signs and certainly the nature of Scorpio. So when we're looking at this stuff that has caused us suffering in the past, we aren't looking to solve a problem long term. We're simply looking to develop the awareness. We're looking at what parts are here today that I can pull out, that I can process through and eliminate. And we know when we eliminate, it feels good. It reminds me of being stuck on an airplane and the seatbelt sign is on, and you have to go to the restroom and you can't get up. Think about the experience of that and how unsettling and frustrating and even panic inducing it can feel. And then the light goes off, you get to go to the restroom, and it's like pure relief. So that's a good description of dealing with our Scorpio stuff, because in another hour or two, you're going to have to use the restroom again, although it might not be as traumatic this time, but you see what I'm saying. Scorpio also rules this taboo, these parts of us that we don't necessarily bring out into the open all the time. So using the restroom as an example, we go to the restroom in private. Many of us don't like to talk about going to the restroom. We even say things like, excuse me, I'll be right back, instead of, here's what I'm about to go do. The same is true with Scorpio when it comes to sex, with the reproductive organs. It's something that is very important to most people. And yet it's something that most people don't talk about and don't do. But we know most every sexual experience that you have is going to feel different. It's going to bring up different emotions, different sensations, sometimes amazing, sometimes really terrible. Again, another analogy of Scorpio. We never quite know what we're going to get. And yet that's part of the beauty of it, because if we are riding those waves and allowing ourselves to examine what was hard so that we can make sense of it and alchemize it into something that looks like awareness. Oh, I know myself better now. Oh, I understand this dynamic better. That's really the whole point. And those are the gifts of Scorpio, bringing us the wisdom. So we go from being defended and being fearful into examining that fear, trying to understand why we are defended, and then looking at things through a more medium lens where we're just being curious. We're just looking at what is here. We're sorting through where we've been. And then we go into the elimination phase. We get rid of what we no longer need. Then we have the transformation. And then after that, we have the resilience because we have been through something hard. We have persevered through it. We did our job. So as we are looking at Pluto at the end of Capricorn, and we're all immersed in this energy, and Pluto, the ruler of Scorpio, at the end of a sign really requires this deepening into looking at all of this stuff. And one thing that I have noticed in my own experience is looking at this lens of communication and how many times I screwed up. I wasn't good at communicating. I didn't do the right thing. I wasn't clear and I wasn't straightforward. I was doing that defended Scorpio thing of not wanting to deal, hiding behind a rock, and reaching for things to numb so that I didn't actually have to feel what I wasn't expressing and I didn't have to feel my impact on others. But as I've been processing this through these last few months of Pluto in Capricorn and also the sun being in Scorpio, I've been investigating and I have been seeing myself more clearly and seeing the dynamics at play, processing them, understanding why I wasn't communicating clearly, why I was acting out my Scorpio side in the way that I was. And it's been really freeing and very transformational. So think into your own experience over the last few weeks. What has come to your attention about a way that you have handled a situation from your past with a lot of Scorpio themes? You were defended, you didn't want to talk about it, you were resentful, you put your head in the sand, you were fearful of speaking your truth, and so you blocked and blocked and blocked. We've all had those experiences. And if you are willing, after you listen to this, to deepen in and see yourself clearly, why did I do that? What were the other dynamics at play? What did I feel at the time that I was defending myself? How did I numb myself from having to feel the real feelings? And what came of it? Sitting here now, what are you able to see with more clarity? What kind of transformation have you been through as a person? So that you know, I probably won't act those Scorpio themes out again in that way. Because if we look at it like it's all our lessons, with Scorpio, we are learning how to be determined, how to transform. And through that transformation comes our ability to be magnetic to more of the things that we want and repellent to the things that we don't want. So we are learning how to give birth to that which is new, that which is fearless. We are regenerating. And we've all been through a lot of regeneration. And it is important to stop and see where you were, especially at the end of 2008, beginning of 2009, since we're in this massive transition between Pluto changing signs from Capricorn to Aquarius. So we've all done this intense psychological work. It's multi-layered and complex. And here you sit more perceptive and better able to understand some of the mysteries of your own experience. So take a deep breath into that, into the acknowledgement that you have come a long way and that you have faced so many fears. And you might not have faced them perfectly, but I hope that you kept going back, even when things were intense, even when they were complex, even when you felt obsessive or resentful, or you were acting out your addictions. Those things are always our mindfulness bell that we are out of alignment. With Scorpio, we seek to realign by understanding. And as we understand and become more aware of all of the dynamics at play, we're set up and we are that phoenix that rises from the ashes. And we have less fear because we've learned how to face it. We've learned how to stand in our power, even when things are really hard, even when we feel humiliated or we've been hurt. So again, we don't do the Scorpio work and then we're done with it. We keep doing it in layers, and we will have more layers to work through as we keep going. Next week, I'm going to talk about Taurus and Scorpio together because that brings in a whole other element of how you might experience your own personal Scorpio energy. All right, let's talk about the astrology of the week. So we are in an election week in the US. I did an election video. If you missed that, you should go ahead and give it a listen. It's going to help you through whatever transpires this week. And remember that right now, with the sun in Scorpio, we are in an elimination phase. We are in a rebirth, and we probably won't have immediate answers either. Whatever happens with the election, we have to trust on some level that this is a death and rebirth process. And that while those aren't always easy, that we can maintain little bits of our own personal power throughout that by doing our own personal work, by tuning in to what is happening. So we know that Mars just opposed Pluto. We know that Mars just entered Leo. And we know that Mercury just entered Sagittarius. So all of that was happening this past weekend. So we have some new energy when it comes to Mars and Mercury, both moving into fire signs, meaning that fire is the energy of our life force. So we have access to this life force. So think about what your life force is right now, what really grounds you and keeps you solid. We look at fire as if we were going to build a fire. We know that the ground beneath our fire has to be dry. We have to have the right kind of wood. We don't want too much wind, and we don't need precipitation coming from the sky. We're looking at that and we're saying, I need to cultivate my fire energy this week. I need to be able to tap into that part of me that is bold, fearless, strong, resilient, and knows how to live my life no matter what. And that means that we have to practice a grounded solidity when it comes to our nervous systems, to get out and make sure that we're breathing fresh air, that we are out in the natural world, and that's prepping our ground. We want to make sure that we aren't getting rained and snowed on, and that is being mindful of our own emotions, not allowing our emotional reactivity to get the best of us. And we need to make sure that there's not too much wind. We don't want to build a fire in the wind. It means we either can't build the fire or we're going to blow sparks and catch other things on fire. So we have to really watch our mental energy too. We don't want to let any of our earth, air, or water elements get out of control. This is us holding our equilibrium, really working on using every tool that you have, tuning into your body, coming back into the present moment, connecting with your breath. These are all really powerful practices when you're holding your center. And that is part of your job right now as a light worker. You are holding your center even when it feels really wild. Most people don't know how to hold their center. They don't even know that they have a center. So in the same way that a group meditation actually helps heal and helps transform things, this can be our own dedication to holding our center for this week. It can be our prayer to the collective as we say, if you can't hold your center, I can. And I will put my grounded, centered energy out into the universe to support those that don't know how to get there themselves. On the 4th, we do have a nice sun trining Saturn energy, which is nice. Saturn is grounding. The sun talks about our sense of self. And with the sun in Scorpio, we can go really deep into our fears, into that scorpion tail, into needing to defend. But we can also flip the switch and go into the inquiry, the deeper understanding of what's happening, and then the wisdom. Let's move towards wisdom this week instead of moving towards fear. On November 5th, which is the day of the election, we have Pallas Athena opposing Jupiter. Pallas Athena is an asteroid that talks about our feminine warrior energy. This is not the energy that rushes into action and starts cutting heads off. This is the energy that is intelligent, steady, determined, insightful. And yet Jupiter does bring us the bigger perspective. So we're wanting to lean into seeing things through the lens of the higher perspective, while also understanding our own intelligence, our own intuitive insights. And frankly, Mars, which is the warrior planet, the masculine warrior planet, can rush into action and be too impulsive, can be argumentative, and can be reactive. That's not going to help us this week. What is going to help us is tuning into our feminine warrior energy, which is more grounded, thinks before speaking, thinks before acting, knowing that there is more power in, once again, holding the center, and of course, looking at things through a broader perspective. We don't want to be narrow-minded this week of all weeks, because the truth is we don't really know what's going to happen, and that it is out of our control. So we would like to meet that uncertainty with stillness, silence, observation, and tuning into our higher power. And when we are reactive and angry and stressed out, we're not tuning into our higher power. We are tuning into our fear. And because Mars is also currently in a square to Juno, Juno is our relationships. It's really important that you don't turn against the people that you're in relationship with, even if they have a different opinion than you, even if they're rooting for the other team. When possible, just approach your relationships with a sense of respect and keep the people that are in disagreement with you at arm's length for now. Nothing good is going to come out of fighting. On the 6th, we have the asteroid Ceres in a square to Chiron. And what's interesting is like all of these asteroids are really active this week. And these asteroids are feminine in nature. So this might be an indication that it is a good week to tune into your inner feminine energies, which are more receptive and quieter, because we do need to be in. It's almost as if we spend this week in a sense of prayer in our temples. When we're in our temples, again, we're connected to God. And when we're out in the streets fighting, we're just connected to chaotic energy. With Ceres in a square to Chiron, Ceres is the reminder to tune into the physical body, to take care of yourself, make sure that you're eating and drinking the right kinds of foods, that you're not overindulging in things that are going to blow out your nervous system, and that you're not getting stuck in victim mentality, that you are not outsourcing your nurturing and your nourishment to things that are outside of you, especially things that are outside of you that make you feel powerless. On the 7th, we have the moon meeting Pluto, both in Capricorn. This is the last time that the moon meets Pluto in Capricorn for the rest of our lives. So there's something sweet and almost sentimental about this on Thursday. This is a farewell from your heart to some of this deeper work that you've had to do every single month as the moon has met Pluto for the last 15 or 16 years. So be introspective. Maybe say a little prayer of thanks to the deeper work that your heart has had to do as it relates to authority. That may look like your inner critic, because Capricorn rules the inner critic and Pluto has been moving through Capricorn. I talk more about this in my Capricorn episodes, so you can check those out. But hopefully your inner critic has become more of a guide and less of a manager over these past 15 years. And so you can spend a little time on Thursday thanking your inner critic for all of the work that it's done to transform, assuming that it has done some work to transform. And then finally, on the 9th, we have Venus in a square to Neptune. I just want to reiterate that things are very confusing right now, and that's the nature of Neptune. Neptune's lesson is about trust and patience. So Venus being about our value system, Venus in Sagittarius really wanting to know the answers. Well, what's going to happen? Where am I headed? What am I supposed to be focusing on? How do I make the best of this? Neptune still has lessons to teach around tuning in, getting quiet, and allowing the wisdom, the guidance to arrive. It's less about your own brain generating the answer, and also less about you getting an immediate answer, and knowing that we are in the flow. That is the best thing that you can do right now, is practice being in the flow, tuning into your higher power, asking questions, asking for guidance, and remembering that holding your strong, steady, solid core and center is the most valuable thing that you can do right now to help humanity. All right, so given that we all have all 12 of these zodiac energies within us, you're going to relate to some of these more than others. So I'm going to go through. You can either look at them through your sun sign, through your rising sign, or you can just pick the ones that you know that you have a tendency to kind of slip into, and you're going to need a little bit of extra help in this particular area. Okay, so for Aries, harness your natural courage, but focus on calm action rather than impulsive reaction. Embrace patience and tune into your inner warrior, seeking wisdom over winning arguments, and allow yourself to act with clarity and purpose. Taurus, ground yourself in your steady nature, finding peace in simplicity and routine. Resist getting swept up in internal chaos and instead cultivate comfort and stability within, drawing on your resilience to support yourself and others. Gemini, use your curiosity to seek knowledge that calms rather than agitates. Keywords. Instead of engaging in debates, focus on thoughtful listening and introspection. Tune into your higher mind and let wisdom guide your words and actions. Cancer, stay connected to your heart's intuition, finding comfort in familiar, nurturing activities. Protect your emotional boundaries, steering clear of conflict and fear. Focus on bringing compassion and care to yourself and your loved ones. Leo, lead with your heart, embracing a quiet strength rather than outward show. Shine your light from within by embodying self-assurance and love, avoiding drama or conflict. Virgo, ground yourself in clarity and practicality and avoid overanalyzing external events. Use your natural discernment to focus on productive, calming activities that center you, finding peace in inner wisdom rather than in external circumstances. Libra, balance is the key for you. Maintain harmony within by stepping away from conflict. Instead of seeking approval or debate, focus on inner peace and alignment. Let your natural grace guide you toward wisdom and calm interactions. Scorpio, tap into your deep inner knowing and embrace transformation within. Instead of engaging in power struggles, seek insight from your intuition and your higher self, and let go of control and trust the process, finding strength in surrender. Sagittarius, draw on your philosophical outlook to rise above tension and focus on the bigger picture. Avoid fiery exchanges. Instead, seek inner truth and perspective. Embrace growth and explore wisdom that aligns with your spirit. Capricorn, ground yourself in discipline and self-control, resisting the urge to react impulsively. Find stability in your inner foundation and focus on practical ways to bring peace and purpose to your life and actions. Aquarius, channel your progressive thinking into calm contemplation rather than confrontation. Let your humanitarian spirit guide you toward higher insights and trust your unique perspective to bring clarity and peace to those around you. Pisces, connect to your spiritual side, seeking solace in introspection and compassion. Protect your sensitivity from external noise and trust your intuition to guide you. Embrace empathy and let inner wisdom keep you grounded. All right, there's some good ones. Rewind and re-listen if you need, and it might be worth writing one of these down so that you can reflect back on it all week. All right, I hope this was helpful, and I shall see you all soon.